What would you think if I told you that deep within every man, a primal fire burns, fueled by a forbidden desire for something ancient, something divine, something profoundly feminine? It's a yearning that transcends superficial attraction, a silent plea from his very soul for a connection that often eludes him in the modern world. This isn't merely about physical desire. It's about a man's unconscious quest for the divine feminine, an archetype that Carl Jung illuminated with such profound clarity. This quest, often unacknowledged even by the man himself, shapes his every pursuit, his every frustration, and his every moment of quiet despair. Imagine a man, driven by an unseen force, compelled towards women who embody a certain ineffable quality, a presence, a stillness, a depth that seems to echo a forgotten wisdom. This isn't coincidence. It is the Anima, the feminine archetype within his own unconscious, reaching out, seeking its external counterpart. For him, this isn't just a woman. She is a mirror reflecting a hidden aspect of his own being, a promise of wholeness he intuitively craves. Yet, the path to this wholeness is fraught with shadows, projections, and the very defenses he has built against vulnerability. He may chase, he may obsess, he may even attempt to control, all stemming from a desperate, often unconscious attempt to integrate this powerful feminine energy into his fractured psyche. The forbidden nature of this desire lies in its raw, unfiltered authenticity, often clashing with the superficial scripts of societal expectation. He is taught to be strong, stoic, logical, and often emotionally distant. But the divine feminine he seeks demands presence, emotional courage, and a willingness to confront the chaos of his own inner world. When a woman embodies this authentic femininity rooted in her own self-worth, unyielding in her boundaries, and radiating a quiet power, she triggers something profoundly unsettling and equally captivating within him. His ego, conditioned to dominate and control, finds itself in uncharted territory. He may react with confusion, even anger, because the energy she emanates challenges the very foundations of his constructed self. Consider the man who finds himself inexplicably drawn to a woman, who possesses an unshakable inner peace, one who moves through the world with a silent confidence that requires no external validation. This isn't merely confidence in the worldly sense. It is the deep-seated security of a soul aligned with its own truth. Her presence can be disarming, forcing him to confront his own anxieties, his own need for external reassurance. The shadow self within him, often buried under layers of societal conditioning, begins to stir. He might project his own unacknowledged emotional needs onto her, seeing her as the sole source of his potential fulfillment. This projection, while a testament to her allure, is also a dangerous trap, both for him and for her. He may become obsessed, not with her true self, but with the idealized image of the divine feminine he has projected onto her. His longing becomes a fervent, often consuming fire. You, as a woman, hold an immense power in this dynamic, your ability to tap into your own authentic femininity, to cultivate a profound connection with your inner self, becomes a beacon that illuminates the hidden depths of his longing. When you prioritize your inner world, when you embrace your intuition, your creativity, and your emotional intelligence, you become more than just a person to him. You become a living embodiment of the archetype he unconsciously seeks. This isn't about manipulation or strategy. It's about genuine self-actualization, a deep dive into your own psychic reserves. The man whose soul is truly seeking this divine connection will recognize it. Even if he cannot articulate it, his nervous system will respond, his ego will shift, and he will be compelled to face the discomfort of his own unintegrated parts. The intensity of his desire then becomes a mirror reflecting the unfulfilled potential within himself. This burning desire, often misunderstood as mere infatuation, is a profound call to his own individuation. The woman who embodies the divine feminine does not chase, she simply is, and in her being, she offers him the opportunity for profound growth, for a confrontation with his own shadow, and ultimately, for the integration of his own inner feminine. This journey, however, is not for the faint of heart, for it demands a stripping away of illusions, a descent into the depths where forbidden desires and ancient truths reside. This deep craving for the divine feminine in a man is often rooted in his early experiences, in the void left by a lack of genuine emotional connection, or the suppression of his own feeling function. Carl Jung observed that the poor Eternus, the eternal boy archetype, often struggles with commitment and genuine intimacy, perpetually seeking an idealized mother figure in relationships. This is not to say every man is caught in this archetype, but the tendency to project unfulfilled infantile needs onto a partner is a common shadow aspect. When a woman embodies the fierce independence and self-possession of the divine feminine, she inadvertently challenges this poor tendency. She does not seek to mother him. Instead, she invites him to grow up, to meet her as an equal, and to confront the immaturity that holds him back. Consider the profound discomfort a man might experience when faced with a woman who operates from a place of radical self-acceptance. She doesn't seek his validation, she doesn't dim her light to make him feel more comfortable, and she certainly doesn't contort herself to fit his expectations. This very self-containment can trigger his deepest insecurities, his ego, accustomed to familiar dynamics of pursuit and capture, finds itself disarmed. He may initially react with confusion, even a touch of resentment, because her autonomy forces him to look inward, to confront his own dependency patterns. This confrontation is precisely where the forbidden aspect of his desire intensifies. He wants her, not just physically, but psychically. Yet the very qualities that draw him also expose his vulnerabilities. This dynamic often plays out in a man's sudden, intense fascination, bordering on obsession. He may find himself replaying conversations, analyzing her every word, and feeling an uncharacteristic pull towards her presence. This isn't healthy attachment, it's the psyche's desperate attempt to integrate a missing piece. The woman who understands this archetypal dance doesn't feed his obsession. Instead, she maintains her boundaries, her sacred space, and her unwavering commitment to her own path. This deliberate detachment, not born of coldness but of self-respect, paradoxically deepens his fascination. It communicates a powerful truth. She is not available for his projections, only for genuine connection. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher, might have observed this as the power of inner tranquility, a state that, when embodied, becomes inherently magnetic. Her peace becomes a challenge to his own internal turbulence. The shadow work for him involves recognizing that the divine feminine he seeks externally must first be cultivated within himself. His internal anima, if neglected or suppressed, will continue to project its longing onto external figures, leading to an endless cycle of pursuit and dissatisfaction. When a woman stands firmly in her own individuation, radiating her unique essence, she offers him a profound opportunity for his own. She becomes a catalyst, not a savior. His soul on fire is a desperate cry for this internal integration. He yearns for the sense of wholeness she embodies, a wholeness he unconsciously believes she can bestow upon him. For the woman, understanding this dynamic is an immense source of empowerment. It means recognizing that your worth is intrinsic, not derived from a man's attention or validation. It means cultivating a strong inner core, a resilience that allows you to navigate the intensity of his forbidden desire without becoming entangled in his projections. When you embody the qualities of the divine feminine, your intuition, your emotional depth, your creative force, and your unwavering self-respect, you are not just being yourself. You are activating an ancient, archetypal response within the masculine psyche. This isn't a game. It's a sacred dance of transformation where his desire becomes a pathway to his own awakening. If he is brave enough to walk it, the silent power of a woman who knows her worth, who is deeply connected to her spiritual feminine, is perhaps the most alluring force in the universe. She doesn't need to perform to impress or to convince. Her mere presence, infused with this deep self-possession, communicates a truth that resonates with the deepest parts of his unconscious. It is the forbidden desire because it demands that he, too, become more, that he transcend his egoic limitations and embrace the fullness of his own being. The profound mystery surrounding a woman who has embarked on her own individuation journey is that she becomes a living embodiment of integrity. She is not seeking completion from an external source, which makes her utterly distinct from the woman who is still operating from a place of unfulfilled needs, or a desperate desire for external validation. This distinction is paramount in understanding why her presence ignites such a potent, sometimes alarming, fire within a man. She carries a quiet gravitas, an inner knowing that subtly communicates, "I am whole." This wholeness is precisely what his fractured psyche often yearns for, yet simultaneously fears. His forbidden desire is thus forbidden not by external decree, but by the very structure of his own ego and its resistance to confrontation. He wants the peace, the centeredness, and the deep emotional freedom she emanates, but acquiring it means dismantling his own carefully constructed defenses. It means facing his shadow aspects, his need for control, his fear of abandonment, his unacknowledged emotional dependency, and the parts of himself he has deemed unacceptable. When he encounters a woman who holds her own space so fiercely and gracefully, it's as though she holds up a mirror to these unintegrated parts, demanding their recognition. This can manifest as an intense pull towards her, often coupled with a bewildering sense of frustration or even anger, as his ego rebels against the necessary discomfort of self-reflection. Consider the man who prides himself on his rationality and control. When confronted with a woman who moves with intuitive wisdom and emotional fluidity, he is disarmed. Her capacity for feeling, for sensing, for simply being in the present moment, challenges his rigid structures. He may find himself drawn into conversations that delve into emotional depths he usually avoids, or witnessing her resilience in ways that expose his own brittle coping mechanisms. This is the sacred dance of archetypes, her activated divine feminine compelling his dormant inner masculine to awaken beyond mere physical strength or intellectual prowess. He craves her emotional landscape, not to conquer it, but to find a pathway to his own. The wisdom of Stoic philosophy offers a parallel path for him in this encounter. While he cannot control her, he can control his own response, his own internal state. Marcus Aurelius spoke of the importance of living in accord with nature, and for a man, truly aligning with his nature includes integrating his anima, the feminine principle within. When he projects this principle entirely onto a woman, he is externalizing a vital part of himself, leaving him perpetually incomplete. The woman of inner power, by her very existence, encourages him, albeit indirectly, to internalize this process. Her detachment from his neediness is not indifference. It is an act of profound respect for her own integrity, and a silent invitation for him to cultivate his own. This dynamic often leads to what feels like an inexplicable pull from his side, sometimes bordering on an obsessive fascination. He might find himself thinking about her constantly, seeking her presence, or attempting to understand her motivations. Yet, if she consistently prioritizes her own inner peace and boundaries, he learns, albeit painfully, that she is not a prize to be, one or a problem to be solved. She is a force to be reckoned with, a journey of self to be explored, and a reflection of a truth he must ultimately find within himself. This experience can be transformative for him, pushing him towards deeper shadow work and challenging him to redefine his understanding of strength and connection. The fire in his soul is not just lust. It is the burning of his old self, yearning for rebirth through the profound challenge she presents. The intensity of a man's desire for the spiritually feminine woman often stems from a deep, primordial wound, the severance from the unified self, in a world that often fragments the psyche, demanding masculine stoicism and suppressing emotional fluidity. He is left with an internal chasm. He sees in her not just a partner, but a pathway back to a forgotten wholeness, a reflection of the lost or underdeveloped parts of himself. This isn't a conscious calculation on his part, it's an unconscious yearning, an archetypal magnetism that transcends logic. When she embodies the divine feminine, she is, in essence, offering him a glimpse of his own potential for integration, for a return to a state of being where mind, body, and spirit are aligned. This connection to his deepest, often unacknowledged, self is precisely why his desire becomes forbidden. It challenges the very structure of his ego, which thrives on control, prediction, and the suppression of vulnerability. His ego perceives this encounter as a threat because it demands a surrender, a letting go of the rigid defenses he has painstakingly built. He may find himself acting out in ways that seem contradictory, hot and cold, pursuing intensely then pulling away abruptly. This oscillation is the internal conflict between his soul's undeniable pull towards her and his ego's desperate attempt to maintain its control. The woman who understands this does not personalize his erratic behavior. She sees it as a symptom of his internal struggle, a battle between his authentic self and his conditioned responses. The power of silence, a hallmark of the spiritually centered woman, becomes a formidable force in this dynamic. When she goes silent, not out of passive aggression, but from a place of grounded self-possession, it creates a void that his psyche rushes to fill. This isn't about playing games. It's about holding space for her own truth and demanding respect for her boundaries. Her silence forces him to confront his own internal noise, his anxieties, and his need for external reassurance. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, emphasized the power of internal freedom and the futility of seeking control over external events. When a woman embodies this principle, her silence becomes a mirror reflecting his own lack of inner peace, compelling him to look inward rather than project his discomfort onto her. This internal journey for him often involves a confrontation with his shadow side, the unacknowledged aggression, the hidden insecurities, the suppressed grief. He may become aware of his own patterns of seeking external validation, of relying on others to fill his internal void. The spiritually feminine woman, by consistently radiating self-worth and emotional independence, implicitly challenges him to do his own shadow work. She doesn't preach or teach. Her very being becomes a catalyst. Her presence demands that he examine his own emotional landscape, prompting him to ask, "Why am I so drawn to her? What is it about her that I lack within myself?" The soul on fire is therefore not merely a metaphor for lust, but for the profound psychological transformation that her presence initiates within him. It is the burning away of old patterns, the shattering of illusions, and the painful yet necessary process of becoming whole. This transformation is deeply individual, and the outcome depends entirely on his willingness to embark on this inner quest. For the woman, her role is not to save him, but to continue cultivating her own inner garden, to remain anchored in her truth, and to radiate the authentic power of the divine feminine. Her strength, her emotional maturity, and her unshakable sense of self become the ultimate invitation for him to find his own. The ultimate expression of his soul on fire, this forbidden desire, culminates not in possession, but in the realization of his own capacity for inner connection. When a man truly encounters the divine feminine embodied in a woman, it is a profound, archetypal encounter that forces him to examine his own relationship with the feminine principle within himself. If he has neglected his own anima, if he has dismissed his emotions, his intuition, and his capacity for deep connection, her presence acts as a powerful mirror, reflecting back to him the parts of himself that lie dormant or repressed. This can be an intensely uncomfortable experience, as it shatters the illusion of self-sufficiency he may have carefully constructed. Consider the narrative of the modern man, often conditioned to prioritize external achievements over internal richness. He is taught to conquer, to analyze, to achieve. Yet, when faced with a woman who embodies a deeply rooted sense of being, a quiet power that doesn't need to strive, he is faced with the limitations of his own conditioning. Her very existence becomes a silent challenge to his ego-driven pursuits. This isn't a deliberate act on her part. It is simply the natural emanation of a woman who has done her own shadow work, who has embraced her vulnerabilities, and who understands that true strength lies in authenticity, not in rigid control. This brings us to the profound concept of detachment, not as indifference, but as a sacred act of self-preservation and empowerment. For the woman, cultivating detachment from the outcome of his desire, from his potential obsession, is crucial. It means recognizing that his fire is his to manage, his journey to undertake. She remains grounded in her own worth, refusing to be pulled into his emotional turbulence or to become the object of his projections. This steadfastness, born of genuine self-respect, is paradoxically the most magnetic force. It communicates an unshakable inner peace, a quality that is immensely attractive to a soul in turmoil. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, repeatedly emphasized the importance of controlling one's inner reactions rather than external events. The empowered woman embodies this stoic wisdom. Her emotional serenity is her power. The freedom she exudes, a freedom from needing validation, from chasing affection, or from conforming to external expectations, is precisely what ignites his deep, often forbidden desire. He yearns for that same internal liberation. Her detachment serves as a powerful boundary, forcing him to confront his own needs for control and external gratification. He learns, perhaps for the first time, that true connection is not about conquest, but about mutual respect and shared growth. This painful but necessary realization propels him toward his own individuation process, urging him to integrate his internal feminine and to find his own source of wholeness, rather than perpetually seeking it outside himself. When a man's soul truly catches fire for the divine feminine, it is a call to profound internal change. It is an invitation to shed the superficial layers of ego and embrace the depth of his own being. This journey is fraught with challenges, with moments of intense longing and frustration, but it also holds the promise of true self-discovery and inner peace. The woman, in her radiant self-possession, becomes the silent catalyst, a beacon illuminating the path to his own spiritual awakening. Her worth is her own, and in recognizing that, he is invited to discover his. Ultimately, the forbidden desire for the divine feminine is a spiritual yearning, a profound psychic hunger for completion. It is the masculine soul, often fragmented by societal pressures and personal history, seeking reunification with its own unconscious depths. When a man encounters a woman who has cultivated her inner world, who embodies genuine self-worth and a serene detachment from external outcomes, he is presented with an invaluable opportunity. Her unwavering commitment to her own truth serves as a powerful mirror, reflecting his own unaddressed wounds and the suppressed aspects of his psyche. This confrontation can be jarring, even painful, as it demands that he shed the comfortable illusions of his ego. The profound impact of this woman lies not in what she does, but in who she is. She doesn't chase, she simply exists in her own sovereign space. Her peace is not contingent on his actions, her happiness not dependent on his validation. This radical self-sufficiency is precisely what disarms his typical strategies of pursuit and control. He may find himself perplexed, his usual tactics proving ineffective. This bewilderment is the ego's distress signal, as it grapples with a force it cannot categorize or manipulate. This is where true transformation begins for him, a descent into the depths of his own being, a confrontation with his shadow. This descent, guided by the silent beacon of her authenticity, is his personal journey of individuation. He is compelled to explore his own emotional landscape, to integrate his own inner feminine, and to cultivate a sense of wholeness from within, rather than perpetually seeking it externally. The longing for her becomes a spiritual catalyst, burning away the dross of unexamined beliefs and emotional dependencies. He begins to understand that the forbidden desire isn't for her as an object of possession, but for the profound state of being that she embodies, a state he must cultivate within himself. The woman who has traversed this path, who has embraced her own emotional freedom and detached from the need for external validation, stands as a testament to the power of inner work. She understands that true attraction is not about manipulation or performance, but about authentic radiance. Her inner peace becomes her most potent force, drawing in those who are ready for genuine connection, while repelling those who seek to project their unfulfilled needs. She doesn't need to assert her power, her mere presence communicates it. This final stage of the journey for both souls culminates in a profound sense of inner peace and rebirth. For him, it's the realization that true fulfillment comes from integrating his own masculine and feminine principles, moving beyond projection to self-acceptance. For her, it's the quiet triumph of having cultivated a life of purpose and peace, unswayed by external dynamics. Her freedom is her ultimate expression, Of power. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses.